Beep boop 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 boop. Ring ring. Ring ring. Ring ring.
Hello.
Walton, it's Ricardi.
Ricardi, I've been looking forward to your call.
Yeah, and I just have so many questions. I was thinking about last week and just everything that you've been telling me about Black History Month, and I've just learned so much. But I'm curious, is there any like kind of food or celebratory foods that people eat during this month? Is there anything connected that you can tell me about?
Oh, there's so much I can tell you. I have to put myself on speaker.
Of course.
So holding on.
Of course.
All right. Food. Food is an integral part of the African American community. And if we take it back to, again, I'm always going to go back to our ancestral roots. And when folks were taken from Africa and enslaved and brought here, they brought nothing except their culture, their traditions that they had already. So when they got here, they were often given things like chicken. Those were the only things they were allowed to like kind of tend to and keep. And so they would keep them and eventually use them as their meals. They also, some folks were forced to be cooks for their masters, and so they would cook the food for them. And so one of the traditions that they brought was frying chicken. Now, fried chicken can be seen a little controversial for some folks because of what has happened with the stigma with that. But in West Africa, frying chicken with palm oil is a quick, easy, and palm oil has seasoning in it, a way to cook chicken. Mm-hmm. And so they brought that technique with them. Now, their owners would also give them flour and other seasonings. And so they would want to spice it up so that it would taste good. And it became this like delicatessen, right? And so their masters really liked it. Additionally, on Sundays, like after they would have their services, often in the woods, because they wouldn't give them places to really come together and celebrate, they would go back and have good big meals. And the things that they gave them, as I mentioned, chicken was something that they were allowed to keep. And so they would fry chicken because they would give them a whole bunch of lard and chicken, and they would give them greens, and black-eyed peas. And these were things that they knew how to cook because they grew in the Gold Coast. Mm-hmm. And so it would be this big celebratory meal, right? And so it's something that has then stuck with the African Americans who are part of the diaspora in the South. Now, it has also been a little bit controversial because it became synonymous with enslaved Africans. And so who were here in America. So there have been a couple of controversies. For example, when Tiger Woods won the PGA, someone made a comment that, oh, we're going to have, or the PGA Masters, I don't know a lot about golf, but I don't know the name of the tournament. But they said, oh, is he going to serve greens and fried chicken? And it was like, hold on. Are you saying that to diminish or make fun of? Because technically it's a celebratory meal, but to make it as though that is a slam or that's, a quote unquote diss to somebody is not okay. So that's kind of the history of fried chicken and why it seems a celebratory dish. Additionally, like Hoppin' Johns, which is like rice and black-eyed peas, and I mentioned greens earlier, you don't necessarily eat them during February, but like for New Year's Eve, it's a symbol of good luck and prosperity. So, my parents used to make me have a tablespoon of black-eyed peas and greens so I could go into the new year with wealth and good luck.
Wow. I had no idea that food would be used as a tool to bring people down, despite the fact that it's a delicious food everyone loves.
Like, who doesn't like fried chicken? They're like lying to you.
I mean,
but it's interesting, right? Because when you're African American, if someone says, do you like fried chicken? You bite your fingers for a minute to say, are they going to think something about me because I like fried chicken? Right. Versus like, everybody likes fried chicken, one. Two, there's it's a technique that our ancestors used. And quite frankly, like we spiced it up, right? Like put some good seasonings and stuff in it.
Wow. Again, what a lesson. And I'm so grateful to be able to hear you and be educated by you in this time. So thank you again. Is it okay? So welcome. Is it okay if I call you later? I think I probably have some more questions. Is that okay?
Oh, Riccardi, my phone is always open for you.
Fantastic. Well, until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Boop, 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 boop. Ring, 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 ring.
Hello.
Walton, it's Riccardi.
Hey, Riccardi. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Hey, I'm just thinking, you've been giving me so much information about Black History Month this month, and I'm thinking about our kids, and a lot of them are turning 18 and going off into the world and kind of participating in kind of civic duties, and I'm just wondering, like, what power do they have moving forward in the future?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Let me go back to speakerphone. Voting. They're turning 18. Like, voting is the best way to use their voice and to be heard. In fact, since it's Black History Month, like the Voting Rights Act would be a really good thing for us to discuss today.
Yeah.
But I'm not the expert in that. We
Me either.
definitely have people who know a lot more about it and really appreciate the history of it. So I think you should call Rogers and Kelly, and they can really get us on going on the right track with this.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. One sec. Boop, 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 boop. Ring, 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 ring. Oh, I can't hear you. Sorry. Something's going on with your end. Let me try it. Ring, ring.
Hello?
Oh,
Ah,
excellent, excellent. Mr. Rogers, how are you?
Is this Rob?
Yes, this is Mr.
Mr.
Riccardi.
Riccardi. Mr. Riccardi.
And
Hello.
Mr. Kelly, how are you?
Great, Mr. Riccardi, Ms. Walton, Mr. Rogers, hello.
hello. Yeah, we're on this fancy
We're on
conference
this.
call.
It's a conference call. Mr. Rogers, I've been told that you know something about the history of voting rights in this country. What can you tell us about kind of the history of the African American vote in America?
The African American vote. Well, it probably, you probably have to go back to right after the Civil War during Reconstruction. The 15th Amendment is passed, which grants Black men the right to vote. And there were some gains that were made immediately afterwards. You had Black men elected to the Senate and to Congress and to state legislatures. However, over the course then of the next 100 years or so, what you got was the Old South really trying to suppress the vote. So the history is really about voter suppression. So in order to vote as a Black person, a Black man in the South, you would be required to pass a literacy test. There were poll taxes. Oftentimes you had to get a white person to vouch for your character to be able to vote. You had to own land. And they would do things like, in order to register to vote, it was only on like the third Tuesday of the month between 10 and 12, and you had to go down to the courthouse where you would have some angry folks hanging out outside. So you really had to be sure if you wanted to take this kind of risk. And this stuff, Mr. Riccardi, was so effective suppressing the vote that by 1960, it was something like 7% of Black Mississippians were registered to vote. 13% in Alabama, 13% in South Carolina, 19% in Virginia. That is voter suppression like we haven't seen. And then, of course, you get to the mid 1960s and the all important Voting Rights Act, which Mr. Kelly knows probably a lot more about this than I do.
Wow.
Well, I don't know about that. But Mr. Rogers, yeah, the Voting Rights Act was pretty incredible about 1965. And one of the things that we think about in the Voting Rights Act of 1965, how we got there, and certainly a lot of people talk about Freedom Summer, 1964, people like Bob Moses, leader of SNCC, helping to register people like John Lewis, a great hero from the state of Georgia, getting people and pushing people to register to vote, forcing at Selma, really, the federal government to finally pass this Voting Rights Act. The effect of this Voting Rights Act, when they passed it, preventing Southern states and even some Western states from discriminating against African Americans, discriminating against Native Americans, Latinos. It really forced those states to undo all those discriminatory laws that had been passed. So just like you said, something like 10% of the people being registered to vote, minorities, suddenly shot up to 70% of African Americans being able to vote for the first time. We read a book in my class in which some historians say that real democracy did not exist until the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's important to note that, remember, each state is in charge. They have jurisdiction over their own voting laws, as we saw in this past election, right, in 2020. And so states were really implementing some laws that were, is it okay to say they were shady? Do people still say that?
That's for sure a thing.
Okay.
Absolutely. Some of the things that today, when we think about voter suppression, we certainly, when you mentioned that today, voter purges, voter roll purges, purging people who are registered from voting off the voter rolls. That's one of the things that we're facing here in 2021. Closing and reducing the number of voting precincts would be another thing that people are trying to suppress the vote. They didn't like maybe the election results of the last election. Increasing voter ID laws, requiring people to have a specific form of voter ID to be able to cast a vote. Things like that certainly are efforts today to suppress the vote. Who are the heroes today? When you think about in Georgia, does anybody come to mind?
Stacey Abrams.
The Abrams seems to be like a big deal.
Yeah. So, Mr. Kelly, what you're saying is that all of the progress that was made from the Voting Rights Act, things have changed just in the last few years, and essentially they're back at it again.
Yeah. So you could probably speak to this because you're an expert on Supreme Court cases, but I think some things have changed with the Voting Rights Act with the Supreme Court, right?
Yeah, that's right. In 2013, a case was filed out of North Carolina, and they sued. The state of North Carolina sued, saying that the federal government was intervening in their voting laws illegally, right? So they were contesting the Voting Rights Act, and the case passed the Supreme Court 5-4 in favor of North Carolina. Since then, there have been a slew of these states now who have come out with these kind of laws that you're talking about. So essentially, they're at it again. Wow. And so everybody needs to be aware of that.
Yeah, I just read this morning that Arizona has 2 cases before the Supreme Court trying to suppress the vote there in Arizona. So you're exactly right. It's a very real thing.
Yeah. Wow. It's a great topic, Mr. Riccardi. Thanks for calling.
Well, of course. I'm just really kind of trying to process all this because, America is, supposed to be this democracy, but it's sounding like it's a little bit more complicated than that. So I'm really appreciating the information, and I'm hoping that we can give everybody some tools to move forward and just be aware of what's going on, because it seems like it's a lot harder to vote than what it might seem.
Mr. Riccardi, remember, it's we the people, not we some of the people.
Yeah.
It's we the people. That means all of us.
Excellent. Well, I'm so glad that get a chance to talk with you and learn so much about this. So I appreciate you all very much, and thank you again for joining us. I hope to talk to you soon. If I can ask some questions, would that be all right in the future if I come up with anything?
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Maybe next time we can talk about voter reforms, how to increase voting here in America, because there's a lots of great debate on that topic.
Wow.
I told you they'd be good to call.
They were a great call. So thank you very much, Ms. Walton. And until next time, bye.